author of Ratsnakes. And that came up in Thanksgiving. My cousin walked up to me. He was pretty drunk, and he just looked me in the eye and he goes, Ratsnakes. I was like, Ratsnakes. For everybody listening, Ratsnakes is Mr. Cefalu's book, which will be in the top comment and in the description. It's a fantastic fucking book about being undercover ATF. And also, what we kind of got into last time, which my mind has been hooked on, is, well, I don't want to, I guess I'll spoil, is your seeming brush-in with CNN, not CNN, oh, probably CNN, CIA gun running operation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's I can't get my mind off of that as I'm listening to more and more audiobooks about all sorts of things going on. And that seems to be a common theme that comes up in all sorts of stuff. Like embassy security services, Air Force OSI, FBI. It's a common theme I see in different stories occurring over different decades. They all talk about, sometimes they run into something, they nudge up against the side of, if you will, something that goes up to, quote, the agency, and they get told from someone higher up, back off, go away. And my mind's just stuck on that. And I know there's only so much you can talk about, but fuck, my mind's just been hooked on that.
Well, story I didn't tell you, I think I put it in the book though, but it was a very creepy event for me because we got involved in a big gun running operation with all kinds of ties to South Africa, and there were money wires going back and forth, and we had no idea what the hell we had stumbled on because these were two seemingly average people buying up, I mean hundreds of thousands of dollars in guns and ammos and accessories and cleaning kits, and like you were trying to outfit a small army or something. Sure. So we've been on them for months and months. And finally we were sitting around, me and my partner were sitting around with the U.S. attorney, and he said, man, we probably ought not go any farther before we get somebody to weigh in whether or not we're stepping on toes. Obviously, our first thing that came to mind was international gun running. It's got to be a company operation, you know. And having had those experiences before, I didn't want something snatched out from under us after months and months of surveillance and all that. So we went through this cumbersome process. Had to go through our headquarters, through our CIA liaison, to their people, back through their liaison. Took weeks and weeks and weeks, and we were finally told, not asked, no negotiation, be at this location in Atlanta on this day at this time. And, you know, we'll figure it out if you're into something. We meet a guy, no doubt his name was bogus, no doubt the office was bogus. It was sparsely furnished. I mean, sparsely. Not like somewhere somebody's going and working every day or a couple times a week or even once a month.
Yeah.
Just like a prop office.
Yeah.
We go in there and we talk to this guy for about 2 hours, trying to find out if we're stepping on any toes, crossing wires on a big case or something. We literally walked out, and the part that was compelling was the U.S. attorney. He was a super sharp, just highly educated, prosecutor. And when he walked out, he looked at me and my partner. He said, does anybody else feel like we were just played? We don't know any more than we did when we came in here after 2 hours, but that guy knows everything about us.
Yeah.
I mean, it was very slick. It was very skilled the way he played us and worked it. But he wasn't doing it. He wasn't doing it to be nefarious.
Sure.
They were trying to facilitate the question we asked, which is, are we interfering with the government operation? Well, about a week, 10 days go by, back and forth through the liaisons on that. We finally, through the U.S. attorney, they only communicated with the U.S. attorney. He called us in and he goes, okay, boys, we can keep going. The answer we got is if you were pursuing a criminal investigation on these people, we would have no input or concern.
Okay.
Literally, that's all we got.
Okay.
After weeks and weeks and weeks of back and forth and high-level meetings and discussions and everything, they weren't going to tell us another damn thing. They weren't going to help us out and go, well, it's not our operation, but we have been tracking them, and here's some good info for you. Nothing. They gave us nothing except go ahead and continue your investigation. And we just kind of all looked at each other and went, man, that's just some creepy shit.
That is some spook shit. That's
what they do, man. That's why they're good at what they do.
Fuck. It's so sexy.
It is.
It's fucking, yeah.
Scary when you have to deal with that.
Absolutely. It's a sexy thing to hear through my webcam on my laptop listening to you. If I'm in your position, I'm shitting my pants.
You don't ever want to. Nope. You don't ever want to have to like marry up with those guys.
Nope.
We're just two different animals.
Yeah. Yeah, they are. I would say all the agencies are different animals except that one. That one's a weird winged demon ghost.
I had actually I got some good advice when I was young and I was trying to get through college and become a Fed. And they said, when you finish your degree, shotgun the federal government. Because you never know who's going to hire you.
Okay.
You just take the first job, get your foot in the door, start your time accumulating.
Yep.
Because it was acceptable back then, I think still today, for you to move from one agency to another. So if you started as an FBI agent, you say, I really belong at DEA or ATF or something. It was okay to do that. Yeah. You know how in some jobs you leave a job and, well, you're persona non grata, man. We gave you a job and you quit. But it wasn't that way in the federal government. So when I shotgunned them, I shotgunned the CIA. First of all, it took me about 12 calls. We didn't have the internet like we have today.
Sure.
Took me about 12 calls to find out that I could get somebody to talk to, a recruiter or however that worked back then. I don't remember all the details. So I call the number. I get a flat hello. I said, I'm sorry, I was trying to get the recruiter for how may I help you? And or no, she didn't say that. She said, fine, what's your name and your mailing address? And I gave it to her and she said, thank you, have a nice day, and hung up. That was our extent of our conversation. Didn't ever identify herself, who I was talking to or anything. This is some low-level clerk.
Yeah.
About 2 weeks later, I get a freaking envelope in the mail, no return address. Postmark was just, generic, with my name written on it, and inside was an application or a questionnaire or whatever started that process. And I said, you know what? Do you really want to work for an outfit that can't even put their return address on an envelope? You might be biting off more than you can chew. So I kind of stepped away from that, although it would have been a cool career.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, part of it could be like a bit of a turnoff. Like they can't even do that. But part of me would be like, that would just suck me in that much more.
I know. It did.
Yeah.
It intrigued me.
Oh, yeah. Dude, right? It's right. It's the girl throwing herself at you at the bar, or it's the girl that won't give you the time of day. You're like, there's something, the other one's hotter, but you're like, that one, something's mysterious about her, right? It's what's going on with her, right? She's got a scar on her face and she won't even give me her number. I want that. That's the CIA, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Fuck. Yeah. Man, that's eerie.
How's your podcast doing?
It's going good, man. I thoroughly, this is the most fun I've ever had. I'm 30 years old, and it's.
Well, who cares about fun, man? Are you making any money?
Oh, now I'm making money.
Attaboy.
That's why it's the most fun I've ever had.
I think I sold a few books after your last one.
Oh, fuck yeah, man. I hope so.
I hope so, too. It's hard to track and that. But.
Yeah, well, that's what I try to do, man. Whenever I have on authors, I put it in the title, put it in the description, sticky it in the top comment, and everyone I talk to that does podcasts are like, you should be putting your own stuff in there. And I'm like, dude, I want to make the guests happy, because if the guests are happy, I'm happy, because that means I'm going to get more. Because as the podcast gets bigger, dude, I had a guy, Roger Williams, that he's like, dude, I sold 100 books in one day after doing like my 5th podcast with you. He was like, it snowballed. now he comes back on whenever I ask him to. So it's like, to me, I'm like, that's my business.
Win-win, yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's my business, is like, make the fucking guest happy, man. And to me, it's like, dude, you're giving me, like, right now, you're giving me 45 minutes of your time. The least I can fucking do is try to throw a couple book sales your way. To me, I'm like, there's nothing wrong with that. It's business.
Do people ever comment on your podcast or anything?
It's as the podcast is slowly getting bigger, it's becoming, first off, it was like maybe every 10th video someone would comment. Now it's moving up to where it's maybe one or two a video. Sometimes if the podcast gets political, people will start fighting in the comments, and that's my favorite because I love watching it. And some of the ones with the Delta Force guys right after the election, those ones got like 300 comments, and I think that's my record. But
I did one last week that had a pretty good format.
Sure.
While they were doing it like we are right now, they were taking live questions.
Yeah. No, I need a better internet connection to do that. I've done a podcast before, Don the Pleb. Actually, you know what? You would love to do that podcast.
Which one?
His name's Don the Pleb, Pleb, and his group is Plebeian Media, Plebiea. I'll send you a link. And that's a cool guy. Yeah, man. I gave him some of my guests, and he's come on mine. But that's how he did it. It was a live chat. And he was just reading the comments as they go. I haven't figured that out yet. I think I need better internet or something. But no, mine, I do them and then I upload them. And by the time it's uploaded, right, because I'll upload this one, it will probably be uploaded by like 7 p.m.
All right.
Yeah, he does them live. And you can comment live and shit. And people can...
Well, the thing that was cool about that is, number one, everybody loves to hate an ATF agent.
Yeah.
So there were people, texting in questions and motherfucker.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
But it's fun, yeah. No, that's why when I did his podcast, I mean, the first thing was like, who the fuck is this pale neo-Nazi? And I was like, fuck yeah, man. Like, you just got to roll with it. Like, that's the beauty of the internet, though, is people come. No one's like, here's a question I have. They're like, fuck this cocksucker. You're like, fuck yeah, right? Yeah, that's what I want to get to, is doing them live. But, dude, I'm going to absolutely get you to do his podcast. He's got about 5 times more people than I do. And his podcast is fun. You'll definitely get some book sales through that. Plus, he's a cool fucking guy.
Shoot him an email, man. Hook a brother up.
I will. I'll send him a text after this. His name's Don, dude. He's ex-Marine. He's going to all the rallies right now, the Stop the Steal rallies. He's going with he's like live streaming. He's carrying like his AR. He's just walking around. He's like, oh, good God. He's like, fuck these communists. But no, I don't know if he's carrying his gun around. I might have spoken out of place. He's a level-headed guy. But, yeah, dude, Don's the fucking man. What do you think? Oh, speaking of election and ATF, did you see, you're in Georgia, right?
Tennessee.
Okay. Well, you were in Georgia at one point, and I was in Georgia too. Did you see that who's the governor, Nathan Deal? Or Kemp? His daughter's boyfriend. Did you see how that guy died the other day?
No.
He died in a car crash. If you look at the evidence, it looks like a fucking car bomb. That dude was killed. That dude was I have no doubt in my mind. That dude was 100% killed.
Oh, dude. How do you cover something like that up? And why would you?
Well, I mean,
especially if you're a conservative or a Republican and a Republican gets blown up, you'd be screaming from the mountaintop.
Or it's this guy that Trump's trying to get to call a special session and to do signature verification on this guy won't do it. He won't do it. I don't know if that looks a little sketchy when all of a sudden that doesn't look like a message from like some shadowy entity. They blew up his daughter's killed him, incinerated him. If that's not a message to, hey, shut the fuck up.
I'd have to see that crime scene photo for sure.
I will send you an email after this, dude. It looks like a drone strike in Iraq. This doesn't look like a car crash. All the grass for like 30 feet around just torched, gone. The car, I mean, this thing looks melted. Like,
wow.
Yeah, I mean, because if it wasn't that, well then, damn, man, those vehicles need to be recalled because that thing looked like it went up like an IED. Gets a little hairy. Especially because it's the governor.
Well, I think we've seen enough over the years to know that nefarious shit happens.
It absolutely happens, man. Who was that? Hastings, that journalist several years back, the guy that was posting bad articles about Petraeus and then his car took off at like 120 miles an hour. Do you remember that?
Not vaguely.
Yeah, and the engine block like flew out of the car and went like 4 blocks. His car was incinerated, and they were like, oh, in like the previous 48 hours, he was sending like frantic emails and voicemails to family. He was like, I'm not suicidal. I'm not like... And they found this guy and his car exploded after doing 120 on like a suburban side road.
Was that when Petraeus was in charge of the outfit?
Yeah, I think that was when... Whew! Whew! Hey, man, if you're gonna go stand up, just you gotta understand that you might get JFK'd. You know, it's...
Yeah, if you're a Iranian nuclear physicist, your days are numbered.
Yeah, man. Seriously. Yeah. You never know when you might turn on your oven and you might blow out the top 4 floors of the apartment building. It
happened.
It does happen. And frankly, I don't have a problem when it happens to our enemies. I'm not too big of a fan when it happens domestically, but that might be the irony and hypocrisy of it, though. You know, can I support this shit when it happens outside our borders? Well, does that just mean it eventually comes home? I don't know. Is that the moral karma? Is it biting me in the ass?
Well, there's a lot between what you think happened and what you know happened.
Yeah.
I don't dispute.
Sure.
There's been nefarious shit done in the name of the government in domestic arenas. But I also know the government is not, with the exception of the CIA, the government is not really good at keeping secrets.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, police are not all that stupid.
Yeah.
They come up on a car bombing or a seat of a blast and somebody saying, oh, it's just a car wreck. It's hard to keep a bunch of local detectives and patrolmen quiet.
Yeah.
I'm just not a big conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
I have to see proof.
Yeah. Yeah. And obviously you're speaking as an ATF veteran. I mean, it's very easy for me, right, to look at it from just on my phone and go, conspiracy, deep state hit. But it's like, sometimes shit just happens. Sometimes there's sometimes the less sexy truth is that it was an outsourced car and it had some shitty materials used and the gas tank hit something it wasn't supposed to hit. Sucks to suck.
Hey, I'd love nothing more if something like that happened than to see it get blown out of the water.
Oh yeah, some water.
That would be fun to watch.
Yeah, but it's the mind is, at least my mind is always drawn to the sexier, right? It's like sometimes it's just that, right? But then, how do you keep a bunch of local deputies quiet? Maybe you call them into a sparsely decorated office.
Yeah. Maybe you call them in, tell them to bring their files in and tell them case closed.
Yeah.
And go away.
Yeah. Maybe make them swear their allegiance.
Go back to work and, there you go.
You tell them each, go back to work, and you say, go back to your kids, and then you name them off. Fuck. I don't know, man.
Well, if I had evidence, I'd be writing another book.
Yeah, fucking right. Dude, we're going to get back on that. How come, and I know you said last time, it takes a ton of effort. It's a ton of work. Well, I think you should just write one, like, maybe not as like a formal book. Just throw some stories together. It doesn't need a flow. Just like it wouldn't even be chapters. It would just be story 1, story 2. Just throw them together. Just take them out of your head. Put them on paper. You can narrate it.
I've got a fair amount of extra stuff that didn't make the book.
That's what I'm saying.
That I can build on, and I have built on a little bit. I just, before I make that commitment again, I want to see some Benjamins.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is you might need to make that commitment. It might not be, it's kind of what you said. Get the clock running, do the shotgun approach, get in and get your time accumulating.
That shit cuts into my drinking time.
Yeah, well, and I understand that. Hey, fuck it, dude. Drink while you write. Who cares? Who cares, man? It doesn't need a... Dude, one of my favorite books is called House of God, and it's by a Harvard doctor that went through residency in the 70s. And he talked about how they had to work 100-hour weeks. They were smoking meth to stay awake. They were fucking the nurses in the closets to like relieve stress. That book is written. It's one of the best-selling books of all time. It's called House of God, for anybody listening, by Samuel Shem, Shem. That's his pen name. The real doctor's name is Dr. Berg. That book is written with the worst grammar, the worst run-on. It looks like the first draft of like an 8th grader. It's sentences that last 3 pages. I'm not kidding you, man. Run on everything. ... Triple exclamation points. Not wrong capitalization. Words are spelled wrong. But it's one of my favorite books because none of that matters. The story is so good that I don't give a fuck. I'm like, this book is... He didn't run it through an editor. He probably wrote it while smoking meth as a physician and was like, fuck it, it's finished. He's made tens of millions of dollars on that book. It's one of the best-selling books of all time. House of God by Samuel Shem. And the reason is because it's so sexy and it's so appealing. I mean, I read it. It was written in like 1970. I read it in 2013. Butchered. English is butchered. It's written horribly. An editor would have an aneurysm reading it. But I love it because
I had a great editor.
That's what
I love my editor.
Oh, I'm sure you did. But what I'm saying is like, don't, you know, it's easy for me to kind of tell you what to do. I've never written a book, but like, don't look at it as this mountainous, like, oh, well, I gotta go do all that again.
Oh no. It would. Oh, make no mistake. As hard as it was, I enjoyed every minute of it. I'd be sitting here like a lunatic down at my desk, laughing my ass off writing it. And I'd go, delete. You might want to know I want to go down that road.
Fuck that. Don't
save that for later and maybe.
That's what I'm saying. Write a book that should have been deleted. That's what you need to do. Write an entire amount of shit and only include the stuff that you would like to delete. That's what's gonna make it, man.
It's a great concept.
That's what I mean. I am. Admittedly, I am incredibly selfish, and I just want to hear these stories from you. So I'm gonna prod every which way I can to get them out of you. I think you should fucking do it, man.
Well, and unfortunately, the ones that I literally had to delete and rethink and step away from involved other people.
Yeah.
You know, I don't mind throwing myself under the bus and exposing my character flaws, but I'm not gonna, lay out my buddies.
No, that's admirable. I get it. Yeah, I mean, it's like this podcast. I tell stories all the time about my shit-headed adventures, but I leave out family. I leave out friends. Yeah. It's you can't just make it. All right. Yeah, it's but to kind of pull it back towards the ATF or not, I don't give a fuck. Is do you think? And I know we kind of touched on this last time. Do you think that there are current operations or open cases on things with Antifa or BLM or Proud Boys because I mean
absolutely
because they are organized. They have supply chains. They have weapons. They have transportation.
Now, ATF generally only pursues investigations on any long-term basis. If they fall within our jurisdiction violations. So you got some Antifa guys or those other ones you were talking about out there knocking people in the head with sticks or what have you. We're probably not going to spend a lot of time. I mean, we probably have people inside those organizations monitoring. But until it rises to the level of the Molotov cocktails, which is, right in our wheelhouse, or destruction of government property, or, weapons violations, firearm violations, we pretty much leave that to the locals to police up and do whatever. We lend assistance, we lend manpower and equipment sometimes.
But with things like, so you said, like when it bumps up, obviously, sticks, bike locks, just a bunch of people screaming and, a bunch of fat chicks with blue hair.
Right.
When it gets to, but things like Portland or Seattle, like where they were burning down courthouses.
Oh, dude, it's been well publicized. ATF has hooked up a bunch of those people came back, identified them, had the evidence and freaking lit them up, indicted them federally, and they're charging them, with destructive devices or attempts to burn a federal building, by means of explosive and all the various statutes. So, when it elevates to that, or if, like, when they stop some of these guys en route to a rally and 3 of the 5 in the car are felons and they've got 15 rifles or pistols in their trunk, they got a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And we do get involved.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't have the people or the resources just to monitor every anti-cop, every anti-government person out there. It comes down to a freedom of speech, and as long as that's all you're doing, and that's all we can establish you're doing, go ahead and run your suck as long as you want.
Yeah, and I'm behind that 100%. Scream all you want. As much as I like to shit on them, I'm like, you fucking dirty communists. If you're out there just yelling, more power to you. It's better that you can do that as opposed to being somewhere in the CCP where you'll
it's brutal watching it and listening to it, as a proud American.
Sure.
I don't mean just me, I mean anybody.
Sure.
Law enforcement or the National Guard or whoever have to be exposed to that. It's brutal to not be able to just throat punch them and do some street justice on them, but we don't get to do that. So,
but that's what makes this place such a special place in time and space in human history. Is that?
Oh yeah, in China right now they're cracking heads, and anybody speaking out against their government, they're finding themselves in gulags and work camps, and they may be dead. Yeah. So it's a pretty good trade-off to be here and be able to be stupid if you want.
Yeah, it's what was I'm butchering it. What's the Thomas Jefferson quote? I'd rather like dangerous freedom than like what is it?
I know.
I'd rather have dangerous freedom than like safe stability or something. That's the trade-off, right? A trade-off of being able to own a gun is like you get mass shootings, right? A trade-off of like not being thrown in a gulag because I spoke out against the government is you get a bunch of people screaming in the streets calling you a Nazi. It's like,
if we didn't have guns and then somebody like that knucklehead in Vegas or whatever was predisposed to do that, he'd make a homemade bomb.
Yeah.
He'd fire up a 18-wheeler, steal an 18-wheeler, and just mow through the crowds until he ran over twice as many as he shot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Guns, and that's what just infuriates me as an ATF agent is all this talk, the neophytes out there, the Kamala Harris and the Joe Bidens, talking about all this legislation they will do. I just asked them a simple question. What one gun law have the criminals followed since the Gun Control Act of 1968?
Yeah.
Which one? Which one of those laws has any federal defendant, ATF defendant, followed?
Yeah.
So you can pass all the laws you want.
Yeah.
You're never going to stop a criminal because
a criminal is the person that breaks the fucking law.
It ain't rocket science.
To some of these,
we can make it harder for them to get. No, you can't. They'll just go steal them. They'll make them.
Yeah. When I hear people say like we're gonna ban guns, I'm like, oh, that'll work. Just like how I say to the same friends, I'm like, that'll work. Just like the drinking law being 21 really stopped us from getting booze when we were 16. Fuck out of here. We were going downtown with $100 and saying to someone, hey, I'll give you $100 to buy us a bottle of vodka. Go find a homeless guy. They don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck. And again, what you said about that guy in Vegas, Mandalay Bay shooter, yeah, he would have, right? Because that's what happened in Nice, France in 2015, 2016. The guy took the truck and killed 86 people driving. The guy in Vegas, I would argue that he wouldn't go get an 18-wheeler. What he would have done is still got the same fucking weapons. He just would have, he would have had to pony up But I mean, a guy that's willing to go, kill 59 people and injure 500? A guy that's willing to do that is probably willing to go to some seedy part of town and buy some guns.
He's going to find a way.
Exactly. It's kind of like the dilemma of like, I think my husband's cheating on me, but he said he's not. It's like, well, if he's willing to cheat on you, he's also willing to lie about cheating, right? If a guy's willing to go kill 59 people, guess what? He's probably going to have no problem getting some guns off the black market in some warehouse outside of town. Just my 2 cents. I was going to kill all these people, but it's illegal.
I just don't understand the concept of punishing presumably good and decent, law-abiding citizens for the sins of the criminals.
It's very easy to look at and say, how stupid are these lawmakers? Now, I thought that for a long time. Now I don't think it's stupidity. I think it's knowledgeable maliciousness. I think it's a slow boil the frog takeover of the United States, and you start small, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, what Hitler did.
Exactly. You start very small. I mean, was it Khrushchev, Brezhnev, what a Soviet premier said, communism will come to the United States, but it won't come through the borders. The flag will be raised from within. I mean, the CCP came into power in 1949, and they established a 100-year plan to be the global hegemon by 2049, and they are about 3/4 of the way there. And their entire thing is not planned by quarters or profit margins. It's decades-long plans. And it includes, Yuri Bezmenov for the Soviet KGB defected to the United States. He gave the famous speech about the 3 active measures of the Soviets. And the first was demoralization. It takes about 10 to 15 years to demoralize a country. You do that with Vietnam. Destabilization. You see all the riots right now. And then finally, you come through with the big dick arm of Big Brother. Surveillance. You promise, what were Bezmenov's words? You promise them all sorts of things. It doesn't matter whether or not you'll deliver. Free college, free education, free healthcare. It's a slow, because you can't take America on face to face. So what you have to do is you have to seed through slowly over decades.
Seems to be working a little bit.
Seems to be working pretty fucking well. Unless...
Well, somebody, Lenin or one of them said elections are not decided by votes. They're decided by the people counting the votes.
Stalin. Doesn't matter who votes. It matters who counts the votes, right? And I think it was Lenin. There are decades where nothing happens. There are weeks where decades happen. And I think that's where we are right now. But it can be stopped. I think part of that process of the 100-year plan by the CCP, which isn't some fucking conspiracy theorist, it's something openly embraced by them. It's 2 great books, 100-Year Marathon by Michael Pillsbury and Stealth War by Brigadier General Robert Spalding, the latter of which was on this podcast, episode 160. They talk about this, but one of the important things is to not look at it as this unstoppable rise, right? It's like a glacier. It moves an inch a year, but it can grind down mountains.
Yeah, but it's freedom and liberty is built into our DNA.
That's what I mean. The
pendulum swings, and sometimes it takes a long time to swing back. The Obama administration had 8 years to beat this country down. It's going to take time to build it back up.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Donald Trump's efforts were for, and I think he did a damn good job in the 4 years he had. But we got to clean out some of the, politicians up there who just think they know that they should run Americans' lives.
Yeah, fuck those people. And you're absolutely right. It's DNA and liberty are built. You could wipe the memory of every human on the planet. Get rid of the memory of the Constitution, free speech, natural law. And in 100 years, in 1,000 years, you'd still have people that would eventually, they'd get to 18, 19, 20, and they go, man, I wish I could just speak my mind. I wish I could have a little piece of property that I could call my home.
I went back and started reading 1984.
Fuck.
And I'm not a reader, so it's taking me months. I just read a few pages here and there. But when I do, it's pretty enlightening. It's
on Audible because I hate reading too. I just listen. But dude, you listen to it and you're like, that sounds an awful lot like right now. That sounds an awful lot like right now. cameras in the room.
But we always come back.
Yeah, I don't, and maybe I'm with you. Maybe I'm an optimistic. Maybe I'm doe-eyed.
You just got to read my book, Ratsnakes.
Ratsnakes, and that's where all the answers are to all of your problems right now, everybody. Communism, the 2020 election. I mean, fucking the cure for cancer. Ratsnakes.
Oh, it's in there somewhere.
It's in there. You just gotta find it. It's in written in code, right? Just like the fucking Aryan Brotherhood did in jail, where they'd write with like urine. You just gotta look at the Ratsnakes from the right light under a black light and read it backwards. It's all there. Cure for cancer, how to build a pure electric jet engine. It's all there.
Who killed Kennedy?
Who killed
Everything.
Kennedy?
I lay it all out.
It's out there. Who killed Kennedy? It's all out there. I mean, that's the truth. People don't know that George Washington is actually still alive. It's in there, but you gotta look deeper. I got you for 8 more minutes, and I'm gonna milk the fuck out of these. Actually, yeah, I want to have on my buddy Joe, because I know he was trying to go into the ATF, and you remind me of Joe. He's one of my best friends. Not that has anything to do with anything, but I'm gonna have you on again in January with Joe. But for right now, and I know I keep circling back around to this, and I'm going to keep pestering you. When are you going to actively start writing the book? No dodging the question. Not until you start making money.
Don't know. I'll let you know when I do, man.
Why you gotta do this to me?
I got shit to do, man. Well, I don't have anything to do, actually. I just don't feel like freaking writing a book right this second. I'll start writing a book if your podcast can get 1,000 people to buy my book.
Fuck. It might take.
I'll start writing the book in earnest.
You start coming back. I'll have you on. You start coming back once a month for 45 minutes.
I'm not coming back 1,000 times just to sell 1,000 books.
No. You come back once a month for 2021. I'll have you on 12 times in 2021. I bet by this time next year, December 2021, I'll have you sold 1,000 books.
All right, deal.
I can't promise shit. But hey, man, this podcast next week will be 1 year old. It went from nothing to now I'm making a salary on it.
One of my old partners, right before I came on here this morning, texted me and said, dude, I just saw a podcast you were on a while back. And I said, which one? And it was yours.
Fuck yeah.
So he's out there searching,
it's
for whatever ATF stuff, and it popped up. So who knows, man? You get about 1 million viewers.
Fuck yeah.
And fucking 10% of them buy my book. I'm New York Times.
Fuck yeah.
And then the publisher owes me a bonus.
Fuck yeah. Dude, it's how it's gonna work, man. And I'm loyal. So when my podcast is bigger than Joe Rogan's, I'll remember who my original guests were.
Joe who?
I don't know, some faggot who thinks he has a podcast. Just kidding. I love Joe Rogan, but
yeah, but his podcast ain't as cool as yours.
No, not at all. I love his. I started listening to his when I was about a year old in college. Actually, when I lived in Athens.
That dude's a shit show.
He's a guy. I fucking
He makes me laugh. He doesn't give one shit.
I know. That's why I love him. There's no welcome back to the Joe Rogan. He doesn't give a fuck. He's out there. If you go to his early episodes, like the first 100, sponsored by the Fleshlight, the handheld vagina. He's like, sponsored by the Fleshlight, guys. Look, we all masturbate. You gotta rub one off. We want to watch porn, or you want to fuck this synthetic pussy. Joe Rogan Experience, episode 10. Like it's beautiful, and that's why I love him. He doesn't give a. And he went from being sponsored by the Fleshlight to getting $100 million deal with Spotify.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Ooh, he's right.
Don't forget me when Spotify calls you, baby.
I'll get you. That's why I say I'm loyal. I'm fiercely loyal. I'll remember you. But that's my logic, man. Is people like genuineness. People like legitimate conversations. They don't want to. You in a suit and tie and me in a suit and tie. Mr. Cefalu, you worked for the Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms Agency. No, instead you come on, you're just smoking a cig, having a cup of whiskey, and it's like, what's up, fucker? And it's like, let's jump into it. The CIA is running guns in Atlanta. Go. Because that's how people talk in real life. No one does this candid shit, right? This podcast did not edit it. I don't edit shit. Unless the person specifically asks me to take out a segment, I will, out of respect for the guest. There's no editing, man, and that's why I love Joe Rogan. Is because he acts how people actually act. That's not professional. No one acts professional. When you're at home with your family, no one's acting It's just, what's up, fuckface? That's how people act. He was just the first person to say, I'm just going to act how everyone acts normally. And that's why it's the most downloaded podcast in history. I think I got it. I think I can do it.
Dude, I'm voting for you. I'm rooting for you.
Thanks, man. Well, fuck. Let's wrap this bitch up. I know.
I got to bail, man. I got stuff to do, seriously.
All right, man. Well, I'll send you an email. I'm gonna put you in touch with my friend Don the Pleb. You absolutely need to do that podcast.
Do that.
He's a cool fucking dude. And
all right,
Mr. Vince Cefalu, author of Ratsnakes. Stick it in the top comment, in the description. Great book, about an 8-hour listen. It's fine, it's perfect, it's fucking hilarious. It's actually a lot like the book House of God, in that it made me laugh. Mr. Cefalu, stay safe, sir. God bless America, and thanks for being here, man.
Later.
Take it easy, buddy.